If you just look around today, it's everywhere, isn't it? These glowing screens, toddlers swiping before they can talk properly, teens basically attached to their phones. They're just completely ubiquitous. But have you ever really stopped to think what this constant connection is actually doing, especially to the youngest kids? Why does it feel like young people today are struggling so much more with anxiety, with depression, just mental health in general, compared to, say, how things were before? That's the really big, urgent question we want to dive into today. And we're going to use Jonathan Haidt's incredible new book, The Anxious Generation, as our guide. It's really insightful. We'll pull out the key ideas from Haidt's research, really focusing on his main argument, his framework for understanding this huge shift in adolescent mental health.
Yeah, and Haidt's central point is actually quite striking. And, well, once you hear it, it makes a lot of sense. He talks about the anxious generation, that's basically kids born after 1995, and says they're the result of two really disastrous trends that kind of crash into each other and totally reshape childhood. So on one side, you've got overprotection in the real world. Kids just haven't had the same freedom, the independence, the unstructured playtime that previous generations had. And then at the exact same time, you have underprotection in the virtual world. So these same kids are thrown into the deep end of the internet, social media, all this overwhelming, addictive stuff way too young. He contrasts this phone-based childhood we have now with the older play-based childhood. And that switch, he argues, is messing with development, resilience, mental well-being.
Okay, yeah, let's definitely unpack that. It feels really important. So our mission today, let's explore these two trends, the overprotection, the underprotection, see how they collided, look at the consequences Haidt identifies, and crucially, talk about the solutions he puts forward. We really want to give you a clear picture of what's going on and, what might actually be done about it. So to really get it, we need to look back a bit at this shift he calls the great rewiring of childhood. He suggests it actually started way back, maybe late 80s, this move away from playing outside towards screens. But the massive change, the real acceleration point, was the smartphone in 2007.
Right.
Though it wasn't like flipping a switch overnight. He pinpoints the period between, 2010 and 2015. That's when play-based childhood really ended for many. Teens suddenly had constant internet access in their pockets, all the time, everywhere.
Yeah, no longer tied to the family computer.
Exactly. And that, Haidt says, just fundamentally changed everything about being a kid.
And the impact of that, it's huge. It goes right to our sense of, being present. Sherry Turkle over at MIT, she saw this coming back in 2015. She said, "We are forever elsewhere."
Forever elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's not just about being distracted, It's deeper. It's like a shift in consciousness. When a kid is always plugged in, their attention is constantly pulled away, focus gets shattered. They're just not there in the same way. For teens, this great rewiring, Haidt basically says it's the #1 reason for this tidal wave of adolescent mental illness that just exploded in the early 2010s.
Wow, the single largest reason.
That's his argument. A direct cause and effect. This huge change in how young brains develop and experience the world. It really makes you think, doesn't it, what we traded for all this connection?
It absolutely does. And the numbers Haidt brings are, they're pretty stark. We're not talking small changes. It's a big, sustained rise in anxiety, depression, self-harm across the board. And what's really striking is how much harder it hit girls, especially preteen girls, right?
Right.
They saw the steepest, the biggest impact.
That's right.
And it's not just feelings, sadly. Suicide rates tell a grim story, too. For both teen boys and girls in the U.S., rates started climbing around 2008, then really took off in the 2010s. This isn't just a feeling people have. It's measurable. It's in the data. A whole generation affected.
And think about what kids lost when childhood shifted from being play-based to phone-based. It's fundamental stuff. Take free play. Just letting kids play, figure things out on their own. It sounds simple, but it's crucial for learning social skills.
Like how to deal with arguments.
Exactly. Conflict resolution, making real connections, getting in sync with others, developing that attunement, that gut feeling for what someone else is thinking or feeling. Kids learn turn-taking, leading, following, bonding, all naturally without an adult hovering over them.
Right.
Now, compare that to social media. Haidt points out it's mostly asynchronous. You post, someone comments later. It's often performative. You're curating an image.
Yeah, not like a real back and forth.
Not at all. And that environment actually stops attunement from developing properly. He says heavy users end up feeling starving for social connection. They're interacting constantly, but not really connecting deeply.
And it's not just the social side that's missing. He talks about this idea of anti-fragility, which it really stuck with me.
Oh, yes. Anti-fragility.
It sounds a bit weird at first, but it makes so much sense. Like how your immune system needs germs to get strong.
Mm-hmm. Or like a tree needs wind.
Exactly. Kids need setbacks. They need to fail sometimes, experience little shocks, stumble a bit.
It's not about being mean to them.
No, it's biological almost.
Yeah.
Without those small challenges, the brain doesn't fully develop the pathways for problem solving, for handling emotions, for feeling capable.
Yeah.
You get stronger through the challenges, not by avoiding them.
Precisely. And that's where overprotection causes problems. It gets in the way of that natural process. By trying to shield kids from every little scrape or disappointment, we accidentally make them more fragile, more fearful, less ready for life, basically. And Haidt also talks about risky physical play, climbing trees, exploring, stuff where they might actually get a bump or a bruise.
The things we did as kids that parents panic about now.
Right. But those things are vital. They teach kids to manage fear, assess risk, feel competent. Instead, we've got what he calls safetyism, where safety is the absolute highest goal, above everything else.
But that itself can be dangerous.
In a way, yes. Because it stops kids learning how to look after themselves, how to handle risk or disagreement. They get good at being safe, but maybe not so good at being resilient.
Okay, so safetyism is one big issue, and then smartphones come along. Haidt links these with this idea of experience blockers. He says safetyism blocks kids from, like, the real-world experiences that build courage and independence, but then the smartphone acts as a second blocker. It doesn't just fill time. It actively pushes out everything else.
Yeah, it crowds out the other stuff.
And the crucial thing is that other stuff, the play, the face-to-face time, the exploring, that's exactly what their developing brains are wired to expect, what they need.
It's like a double hit, cutting off the supply of essential experiences right when they need them most. Devastating, really.
Okay, so we see the big picture shift and what's being lost. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. The direct harms Haidt identifies from this phone-based life, day to day. And this is where it gets, well, kind of shocking. The amount of time involved.
This is staggering.
Teens spending, over 7 hours a day just on-screen leisure, not even counting school stuff.
That's right, 7 hours. It's a huge slice of their life, just gone into the screen. And that brings us to the first foundational harm, social deprivation. The statistics are pretty brutal. Think about this. Face-to-face time with friends for American teens dropped from about 122 minutes a day in 2012 down to just 67 minutes a day in 2019.
Wow, nearly cut in half in just 7 years.
Exactly. And it's not just the quantity, it's the quality. They're missing out on all those subtle, real-life cues, body language, tone of voice that build real empathy.
Then harm number 2, sleep deprivation. This one feels huge, too, because sleep affects everything. Haidt shows, as smartphones became constant companions, teen sleep just plummeted. Less sleep and worse quality sleep. And this was seen everywhere, globally.
Yeah, it's a worldwide trend.
And we know what lack of sleep does.
Right.
It makes depression and anxiety worse. Kids are more irritable. They can't focus. Grades suffer.
Cognitive deficits, yeah.
And even more accidents. It just cascades through their whole life, mental and physical.
Then the third harm, attention fragmentation. Haidt has a great way of putting it. Attention is like trying to stay on one road when there are tempting exits everywhere. And that ability to focus deeply, that's key for maturity, for executive function. But smartphones, he calls them kryptonite for attention.
Kryptonite. Yeah, I feel that sometimes myself.
Right. Teens are getting hundreds of notifications a day. Hundreds. How can you possibly concentrate on homework or even a conversation for more than a few minutes?
Impossible.
This constant switching prevents the development of those crucial executive functions, planning, problem-solving, controlling impulses. Their brains are literally being trained for distraction.
And the fourth harm he discusses, this one feels really dark. Addiction.
Yeah. And it's not an accident.
Right. He says it's by design. App developers using these behaviorist techniques.
Exactly. Gamification, infinite scroll, unpredictable rewards. It's all designed to hook kids, keep them coming back. It's a business model.
And the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually satisfy you.
No, that's the tricky part. It makes you crave more. It primes the pump, pulls you into this cycle of wanting, never quite feeling fulfilled.
And the withdrawal. Anna Lemke talks about that.
Yeah, she describes the withdrawal from these behavioral addictions, anxiety, irritability, insomnia, feeling low. It's very similar, she says, to things like gambling addiction.
Wow. So teens are developing actual behavioral addictions with real consequences.
So when you put those four harms together, less real social connection, less sleep, shattered attention, and the hook of addiction, you start to see why mental health took such a nosedive when childhood became phone-based.
It's not just one thing.
No, it's like a perfect storm hitting their development all at once.
Okay, that paints a really challenging picture.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier, and Haidt emphasizes this, it didn't hit everyone the same way. Girls, especially younger girls, seem to have been affected more intensely.
That's right. The tidal wave, as he calls it, hit girls harder. And he lays out a few reasons why social media in particular might be more harmful for girls.
Okay.
First is visual comparisons. Girls tend to be more sensitive to comparing themselves visually, especially faces and bodies. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, they're all about images.
Right. Filtered, perfect images mostly.
Exactly. And that constantly pushes down what Haidt calls their sociometer, their internal gauge of self-worth. It fuels this pressure for perfection, socially prescribed perfectionism.
Right.
Second, think about aggression styles. Boys might be more physical, but girls' aggression often targets relationships, reputations.
Ah, so social media is like the perfect tool for that.
Unfortunately, yes. Spreading rumors, excluding people, damaging social standing. It gives endless ways to do that and amplifies it. Third is emotional contagion. Girls often share emotions more openly. Online, in these hyperconnected networks, anxiety or depression can spread really fast, like wildfire.
An emotional echo chamber.
Precisely. It makes them more vulnerable to sociogenic illnesses, where social influence actually worsens or even triggers symptoms. And the fourth point is really worrying: online exploitation. The internet just makes it easier for predatory men to target girls for stalking, for harassment, even for boys at school to pressure girls for explicit photos.
Gosh.
So Haidt concludes social media is often a trap for girls. It promises connection but delivers lower quality interaction, leading to more loneliness and inadequacy, paradoxically.
Wow, okay, a really difficult environment for girls, but boys aren't unaffected, right? Their challenges just look different.
Different but equally concerning, yes. For boys, Haidt points to a higher risk of failure to launch, meaning becoming young men who aren't in school, aren't working, aren't training for anything. NEETs, not in education, employment, or training.
Like the hikikomori in Japan.
That's an extreme example, yes. Young men withdrawing completely, often into their rooms for years.
And what drives that, according to Haidt?
Well, one major factor he highlights is pornography. Easy access, unlimited, free, often hardcore porn, anytime, anywhere on a smartphone.
Right.
It means intense desires can be satisfied instantly, online, without needing to develop the real-world social skills, the emotional maturity, the resilience needed for actual relationships in adult life. It kind of short-circuits that development.
And then there's gaming.
Video game addiction, yeah. Now, games can be good community problem-solving skills.
Sure.
But for a minority, maybe around 7% of boys, it becomes problematic, an addiction. It takes over their lives, harms their health, causes fights with family, impacts school, everything. So the diagnosis is pretty grim, but Haidt doesn't just leave it there. He proposes solutions, concrete steps. He outlines 4 foundational reforms that he believes could make a huge difference relatively quickly.
Okay, what are they?
First, no smartphones before high school. Basic phones, only the ones that just call and text. No real internet before maybe age 15 or 9th grade. Protect those early teen years. Second, no social media before 16. Let kids get through that really vulnerable brain development phase before they face the fire hose of comparison and curated reality online. Third, phone-free schools. All schools, K through 12. Phones stay in lockers or pouches all day. Free up attention for learning, yes, but also for interacting with teachers and each other, face-to-face.
That sounds radical, but I can see the logic.
And fourth, maybe the most crucial, far more unsupervised play and childhood independence. Get kids outside, exploring, taking small risks, figuring things out together. That's how they build resilience and social skills naturally.
So those are the big 4 structural changes. They sound impactful, definitely, but he calls them foundational because they solve collective action problems. What does that mean exactly? Because getting everyone on board sounds hard.
It is hard. That's the key challenge. The collective action problem is basically no single parent wants their kid to be the only one without a phone or the only one not on TikTok.
Yeah, the fear of missing out is huge. Social isolation.
Exactly. So individual action is tough. But when a whole community acts together, a school, a neighborhood, even just a group of parents making a pact, it becomes much easier. If the whole school goes phone-free, no one feels singled out. If the norm becomes no social media till 16, the pressure eases on individual families.
Ah, okay. Strength in numbers.
Precisely. He urges parents to talk to each other, coordinate, push for school policies. He genuinely believes that communities adopting all four reforms could see significant mental health improvements in just a couple of years.
That fast.
That's his optimistic view, based on how quickly environments can change when there's collective agreement. And for parents listening right now, wondering what can I do? He offers practical advice based on age. For little kids, ages 0 to 5, the biggest thing is probably modeling. Watch your own phone use. Avoid what he calls continuous partial attention, being physically there but mentally checked out on your phone. Be present.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Tell me about it. But crucial. For ages 6 to 13, the core advice is delay social media until 16, delay smartphones until high school, and talk to other parents. Coordinate. Make it a group effort.
Right. Create that community support.
Yeah. And the general screen time guidelines still hold. Basically none for under 2s except maybe video calls, and keep it very limited and supervised through age 5 or 6. It's about being intentional.
So really, what this all boils down to for you listening, whether you're a parent, a teacher, just someone who cares, is that knowing this gives you power. You can make more informed choices now to help build a healthier, more resilient space for the kids around you. It's not just about their choices, it's about the environment we all shape. So we've traced this massive shift, haven't we, from play to phones, and how Haidt argues it's the main force behind the youth mental health crisis. We looked at those 4 big harms: the social loss, the sleep loss, the attention drain, and the pull of addiction. It's a compelling, if worrying, picture.
But importantly, we also looked at the path forward. Those 4 foundational reforms, Haidt proposes no smartphones till high school, no social media till 16, phone-free schools, and much more independence in play. They offer a tangible, collective way to push back to support healthier development.
So as we finish up, maybe just something to think about as you go through your day. How much are we living elsewhere, pulled away by our own devices? What example are we setting? And maybe, what's one small shift you could make? In your own habits, maybe a chat with another parent, advocating for a change at school. Just one thing to help foster a childhood that's a bit more present, more resilient, and more connected in the real world.